was a delicious dinner, wasn't it?
It was wonderful. Thank you
Yes.
so much
The
for
cook
having me.
really outdid
I've
himself.
enjoyed it. Yes, he did.
Yes. But now I want to get more serious. I've got to tell you about these visions that I've had. And at first I just thought it's my imagination. But after the fulfillment of me becoming queen, I began to really wonder about these. And back even when I was a child, even before I became the queen, I had this sudden flash on the wall. It was like I saw these men on camels, and there was a star, and it was like the men were following the star. And then it was gone. And I didn't have any more visions for a long time.
Did it make you feel good? Was it a good feeling?
Well, it
or?
was like, what is this? That was just
okay.
the impression, well, what is this? What does it mean?
Okay.
And then years later, after I was the queen, I had this other one, and I saw this young Jewish boy. He looked like he was only about 12. And he was asking all these rabbis questions, and he was talking to them, and it was like they were so just, I don't know, I can't describe it.
Enamored by a
Yes.
small little boy? What he had to
Yes.
say?
Yes. But then, for most of the time while I was queen, I didn't have any. But after the king died, I began to have these visions. Please don't tell this to anybody. I really, honestly, there's times I think maybe I'm losing my mind because I keep having them more and more, and they're stronger and they're stronger. Only this time, I saw this man. I wish you could see it. It's almost like I can see it on the wall now. I saw this man. He looked like a rabbi. He had on the tzitzit, he had on the talit. But then I saw, as he walked along, people were rushing up to him, and he was touching. I even saw a flash of him touching a man. The man was blind, and he just got his sight. And then a crippled man.
That sounds crazy,
I
Esther.
know. Don't
It
please
sounds, I'm not crazy. I'm sorry, but, it just,
I know.
unheard of.
I know.
Somebody was healing?
Many healings. I could go on and on about telling you. There was one crippled man, been crippled, looked like he'd been crippled all his life, and he was healed. And a woman, we're not allowed to touch the talit, and especially the tzitzits.
No.
The fringes
Yes.
on his garment. But this woman went in the crowd, and she reached out and she touched it. And I don't know what was wrong with her, but she jumped up and she was so excited because she was healed. And this man said, "Who touched me?" I'm like, everybody's around him. But apparently when she touched him, virtue went out because she touched his tzitzits. And that's in the scriptures. Where it says in Numbers that the men were to, or at least it said they to wear tzitzits, to remember not to follow after their own thing. So something about this man was very special. Something about him made him beyond the others. But
Who could it be?
But
Do you think you're seeing something in the future?
It's quite
Do you
possible.
think that's...
I don't know, but the reason I had to talk to you today is last night I saw something that just has tore me up. I didn't want to mention it this morning. I'm not even sure I'm supposed to share tonight, but what I saw is this same man, and I began to hear people saying, "Crucify him, crucify him, crucify him." And I'm thinking, what are they talking about? Now, I know what crucifixion is. I've seen that before, where they hang somebody on a pole, but they were hollering, "Crucify him." And I saw his back was all bleeding, and it was a horrible scene.
Oh, Esther.
And it was so horrible. And then I saw him. They stretched him out on the cross, and they drove spikes in his hands, and he seemed like such a good man. I can't begin to tell you what that did to me. It was like somebody's ripping my heart out. I almost wished I could step in the scene and say, "Stop, leave him alone. He's a good man." But I couldn't do nothing. I was helpless. And then they took him, and after nailing him to the cross, there was men on both sides of him. And one of them, I heard this with my voice. I heard one of them say, "Remember me when you come into your paradise." And I'm like, what is he talking about? And the man that was on the cross, this special man, he said, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." And then he looked out at the crowd and he said, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they're doing." I don't know what to make of all this. I know it has ripped my heart out to see all this. And I could not sleep all night for thinking about this. I really had a hard night. I know it didn't show up when we were talking in the garden, because I wasn't even going to tell you. I wasn't going to tell anybody, but I just can't keep holding this in. It's too much. But the odd thing this morning, early this morning, I saw like a tomb. It was one of those tombs that's cut out of the rock. Yes. And it was like there was nobody in it. But there was an angel standing there pointing to the tomb. And there was a woman that came up and she was looking inside. And then these two men come running looking, but there was nobody in there. And I wondered, why are they looking in an empty tomb?
Do you think it has something to do with your
I think it had something to do with that man. Yes. Because then it showed a man. It didn't look exactly like the one I saw. And this woman runs up to him and she says, "Where have you taken his body?" And the man said, "Mary." And when he said Mary, he became that same man. It was the same man that had done all the miracles.
Oh my goodness. So he rose from the dead.
Apparently,
this person rose from the dead.
Apparently so. And then to top that off, I saw him appear in a room. Like there was a bunch of men in the room, and this man appeared, and he said, he told him, "Look at his hands and his feet." And there was holes in them. So I knew it had to be the same man that was crucified. And even though he had a little bit of a different body, because he just walked through the walls. I mean, and to top that off, as if that...
This doesn't seem like it
well,
could be real.
I
It does
know.
not seem like it could be real.
I could write a story about it. It's so awesome. But then I saw him come up on this mountain. It wasn't a very big mountain, but then I saw him begin to ascend into heaven. And it was like all the men were looking up, and I heard him say, I even saw two angels, and they said this same person, this same man, and I believe they called him, name was Yeshua, said he's so coming in a like manner as you've seen him go. Oh,
Queen Esther,
right.
Yeshua means salvation.
I know. And you know what came when he was being crucified? You know what scripture came to my mind? It said in Isaiah 53, he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquity, and the chastisement of our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed.
Do you think this is our Messiah?
Well,
this is the King of the Jews?
I can't help but believe it. But why is it being revealed to me? And all these years, of course, I know there have been other prophets and things have been revealed, but I never dreamed I would have such a revelation. But the best part is they said one day he's coming back. Look up there. See that cloud? See that cloud?
Right.
He might be on it. You see it too, and I'm not crazy. You see it. You're not crazy. Look, and it looks like a man on a white horse. And it looks, they said that Joseph, when this man, the Messiah, was coming first as a Joseph, a suffering servant, but he was coming back as a king, and it looks like, let the clouds get closer and closer. Yes. Even so, come Messiah, come Messiah.